Picture it. You're 12 years old, slicing through the warm waters of the Bay of Naples under a blinding Mediterranean sun. The sea cradles you like a second home. You dive deep, lungs burning, hunting for shells alongside your younger brother. Your father watches from his boat, proud, smiling. In that moment, life feels infinite, pure, rhythmic, eternal. This is your world. This is who you are. Then something tears the horizon. 3 imperial galleys glide across the water like blades, their sails deep purple, emblazoned with the golden eagle of Rome. Every coastal child is taught what that means. The emperor is collecting again. Your father stiffens, face drained of color. He knows. Everyone knows. But you don't, not yet. You don't see the scouts watching from the cliffs. You don't know they've been tracking how long you can stay underwater, how effortlessly you move. You don't understand that this natural gift, this childhood joy, has marked you for something monstrous. By dawn, the sea will no longer be a playground. It will be a trap. And you, just a boy chasing shells, will be pulled into a machine designed to consume you, body and soul. The soldiers come that evening. There's no ceremony, no choice. Your name is on a list. They test your breath, your reflexes, your flexibility. You hold yourself still, trying to hide the shaking. But when you dive beneath the boat and stay submerged for nearly 3 minutes, they nod to each other. That's all they need to see. You're taken before the sun rises. No goodbye, no promise of return. Just the cold slap of sea spray and the creak of oars pulling you toward an island whispered about in fearful tones. Capri. For 2 days the ship cuts across the sea with a hold full of boys. Most are younger than you, all are silent, except for the occasional sob. The smell of salt mixes with sweat and fear. Some whisper stories of what awaits, marble pools, strange lessons, boys who vanish if they displease the emperor. You cling to disbelief. You tell yourself it can't be true. But the moment Capri rises from the sea, an emerald fortress crowned with villas, you know you're wrong. This isn't a paradise. It's a prison wearing a mask of beauty. The docks are guarded, the watchtowers manned. No ships but imperial ones. No sounds but orders barked in Latin and the low rustle of fear. You're led off the ship and into a courtyard of white stone. There, the second round begins. You're stripped, examined, measured, prodded. A physician notes how your ribs expand as you breathe. Another checks the arches of your feet. A third asks questions you don't understand. Some boys are taken away, others never reappear. You pass. You're given a clean tunic and escorted through winding marble halls. The villa unfolds around you in impossible beauty, columns, fountains, gardens. But everything is watched, everything echoes, nothing feels safe. Your dormitory smells of oil and seawater. 10 narrow beds, no doors, no privacy. On the walls are frescoes of sea gods, painted with dreamlike grace. But now those images mock you, because you're not a guest here. You're not a student. You're not a boy anymore. You're becoming one of them, one of the emperor's little fishes, and you're only just beginning to understand what that means. Training begins the next day. It starts with swimming, hours in the water, holding your breath, perfecting your glide. At first it seems almost like home again. The sun, the salt, the gentle lapping of waves echoing off marble. But something is wrong, deeply wrong. The pools are unnatural, carved into solid rock and polished to shine. They are feats of imperial engineering, tiered, interconnected, temperature-controlled. Some are shallow and warm, others descend into darkness. Tunnels run beneath them, connecting one to another in silence. No sound carries through the stone, no scream escapes. These aren't baths, they're tools. You learn to swim without a splash, to dive and surface on command, to stay underwater for minutes without panic. Every movement is rehearsed, every error is punished. Not openly, not loudly, but in subtle ways that leave bruises on your soul. The older boys already know the rules. They move like ghosts, silent, sharp-eyed, their faces unreadable. One is assigned to you. He shows you what to do, where to be, when to speak, and when to disappear. He's been here longer than anyone should survive. His body still moves like a child's, but his eyes belong to something older, something cracked. He doesn't need to explain why. The pools are rarely empty. Most hours of the day, the emperor arrives. Sometimes alone, sometimes with guards or scribes. He watches from reclining platforms built into the stone, surrounded by steam and luxury. He prefers silence, always silence, and movement. You are told to swim around him, dive beneath him, approach and retreat like a school of trained fish. The routines grow more specific, more invasive. Tasks you don't understand are demonstrated once, then expected perfectly. You do them, because to fail is worse than to obey. Some boys seem to adapt. They smile when smiled at. They learn quickly and ask no questions. These boys are rewarded with food, warm blankets, even a nod from the emperor. But their eyes go dull. Their laughter turns mechanical. They survive, but something vital is lost. Others break. They resist. They cry. They beg. They disappear. No one says where they go. No one asks. The villa is a machine, and you're beginning to see how it works. Every room, every corridor, every set of stone steps is built to funnel you toward obedience. No locks are needed. You're already trapped by distance, fear, and isolation. The cliffs around Capri are steep and unscalable. The waters below are deadly. Guards patrol day and night. Even escape by death is not always guaranteed. Some boys have tried, some were caught. You're starting to learn the rhythm of survival. When to breathe, when to hold it in, when to show nothing, when to feel nothing. But the cost grows with each passing day. Your hands become tools. Your breath is no longer yours. Your body is an instrument designed not to live, but to serve. By the second week, the pools feel colder, not in temperature, but in meaning. They don't cleanse, they erase, and soon you won't remember who you were before the waves closed over your head. Nights are the worst. When the pools fall silent and the steam drifts into black corridors, the villa becomes something else entirely. The walls seem to breathe. Water drips somewhere just out of reach. And always there are footsteps. Soft, deliberate, watching footsteps. You lie on your narrow bed, staring at frescoes of dolphins and sea nymphs that no longer seem innocent. You hear muffled splashes, whispers, the occasional whimper. None of it is spoken about in the light of day. Everyone knows, and no one speaks. Over time, the villa's hidden logic becomes clear. This isn't just a palace, it's a system. Every hallway calibrated, every chamber repurposed, every servant complicit. The same hands that bring trays of fruit and scrolls for study also escort boys into locked rooms. The same guards who salute the emperor by day oversee his rituals by night. And the education continues. You are taught to read, to recite, to write elegant Latin script. In any other world, it might be a privilege. But here, it is preparation. Training not for freedom, but for deeper service. Every lesson is another layer of control, another fragment of identity peeled away and rewritten. The emperor sometimes teaches these sessions himself. He speaks with clarity and charm, even warmth. He quotes Homer. He discusses politics. He corrects your grammar gently. And then, an hour later, he watches you swim naked beneath him in silence. There is no contradiction. To him, it is all part of the same reality. He rules bodies and minds alike. The empire is not just a territory, it is you. The boys around you fall into roles. Some adapt completely. They polish their movements until they look like art. They accept rewards, comforts, the illusion of safety. They float through the villa as if it were a temple, offering themselves for favor. Their eyes betray them, though, hollow, scanning, never still. Others falter. There's a boy named Lucius. You never hear him speak. He walks as if underwater, always a step behind, always looking somewhere no one else sees. One morning he stops eating. By evening he can no longer stand. No one forces him to continue. He is simply removed. His bed is filled the next day by a new arrival. It becomes clear, nothing stops, nothing changes. The system feeds itself. New boys arrive constantly, taken from ports and villages, selected with the same cold efficiency. You recognize the look in their eyes. It's the look you had when you first arrived. You're no longer one of them. You're something else now. An older piece of the machine, still functioning, still needed. That realization should bring relief. Instead, it brings shame. Time loses shape. Days blur into months. The seasons change outside, but inside the villa, the world stays still. Always warm, always clean, always rotting from within. You begin to understand that survival here is not about living. It's about becoming someone who can no longer remember what life ever was. You've been on Capri for 3 years. That sentence alone defies belief. It doesn't feel like time has passed, only that the days have looped endlessly, one bleeding into the next, each nearly identical. What changes is not the villa, but you. You've learned to predict the emperor's moods before he enters a room. You recognize the small tells, the set of his jaw, the twitch of a hand, the way his voice lands on the marble. These signs determine everything, whether the pools that day will echo with quiet obedience or something far worse. The man you serve is aging fast. His skin peels, his breath rattles, his body shrinks while his appetites grow more elaborate. Physical contact now causes him pain, but that hasn't dulled his cravings. If anything, they've intensified, twisted by frustration and decay. Where he once expected performance, he now demands endurance. You and the others are made to compensate for his failing strength with your own. Sessions grow longer. You stay submerged beyond comfort, beyond safety. Blood vessels burst in your eyes, muscles seize. Breath holding is no longer sport, it's survival through suffocation. Every day you're pushed closer to the limit, and every evening you surface just enough to exist one more night. One boy does not return from the water. Another disappears after a coughing fit that won't stop. You stop asking questions long ago. There's a hierarchy among the boys now. You sit near the top, not because you're the strongest, but because you've lasted. Duration becomes status, and with status comes the one thing Capri occasionally offers: protection. But it's a poisoned gift. You find yourself watching others the way the guards watch you, not with cruelty, but with coldness. You become a quiet enforcer of routines, not because you want to, but because you must. Every whisper you pass along, every rule you help reinforce, buys you one more day of safety. That's the trade. You are no longer who you were. The boy who dove for seashells in the Bay of Naples is long gone. His name, his voice, his joy, erased in layers. What remains is function, breath, silence, skill. You are what the emperor wants you to be. Nothing more, nothing less. The breaking point comes in spring. Your mentor, the one who showed you how to survive, how to read the system, steps off a cliff and vanishes into the sea. His absence is noted only by the emptiness of his bed. You understand immediately why he did it. He saw the end coming. Not death, Something worse, the final stage of forgetting, the moment where even despair becomes routine, where pain is so familiar it no longer shocks. That night, you lie awake and understand something horrifying. You haven't escaped. You've adapted. And that, more than anything, is what breaks your heart. Tiberius dies in 37 AD. They say his own guards smothered him with a pillow. Others whisper he simply stopped breathing, his body too wasted to go on. It doesn't matter how, what matters is what he left behind. The moment he's gone, the villa begins to unravel. Doors are sealed, records are burned, servants vanish overnight. What was once a well-oiled machine of control collapses in silence, as if the island itself wants to forget. But the pools remain, the stone doesn't forget. And neither do you. You're not told what to do, you simply stop being called. No one arrives with orders or punishments, the structure dissolves into a kind of shapeless waiting. The guards are uneasy, the staff avoids eye contact, and the boys, those who remain, float like debris in a still sea. Some are relocated, others disappear. You are one of the forgotten, not released, not rescued, just left. For days, maybe weeks, you linger in a place with no future. Then one morning, you're put on a ship without explanation. No destination, no escort, just motion across the waves, away from the cliffs, the tunnels, the echoing chambers. When you finally reach the mainland, the world feels alien. The sun is the same, the sea is the same, but you are not. You cannot go home. There is no version of you that your family would recognize. You've been shaped into something unspoken, trained for duties that can't be admitted, marked by memories that no one will ever believe. There is no justice, no reckoning. The Roman Empire moves on. Tiberius becomes a name in marble, a figure in books. His achievements are debated, his cruelty softened by time, buried beneath titles and triumphs. The stories of the little fishes are left out of the histories until a few brave voices begin to whisper. One of them is Suetonius. In the Lives of the 12 Caesars, he writes carefully, but not vaguely. He speaks of young boys trained to swim between the emperor's thighs, of infants taken from their mothers for purposes too grotesque to imagine. He names what others won't, and still, for most, it reads like distant scandal, ancient rumor. But you know better, you lived it. The villa still stands today. Tourists walk its ruins. They marvel at the view, the craftsmanship, the engineering. Guides speak of Roman leisure and elite retreats. They point to the marble pools, polished by centuries of sun and rain, and say nothing. But the stone remembers. It remembers the silent training, the swallowed screams, the endless gasping swims in warm water that never washed anything clean. It remembers boys who arrived laughing and left broken or buried. It remembers you. And maybe, just maybe, someone watching this will remember too. Not the emperor, not the empire, but the boy, the one who dove for seashells, the one who never came back. If this story moved you, disturbed you, or made you think, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, and what other forgotten corners of history you'd like to explore. And if you believe these stories should never be erased again, subscribe. There's more truth buried in silence than history dares to admit. Let's uncover it together.